everyone. Thanks again for joining us here on BLG 18. I'm Paul B. You know MJ. I have two very esteemed guests with us today. We're out here at the Rehoboth Beach Country Club for one of the First Tee's major fundraisers of the year. So I have Scott Allen and I have Bob Norris. And we're going to do a little talk about First Tee and give you an idea of why it's such an important organization to support.
Yes. Why don't you tell us, how did the organization get started and how much has it grown over the years?
So First Tee nationally has 150 chapters nationwide, or 150 plus chapters nationwide. We, Delaware, if I put it in context, Delaware is one of the few chapters that is a full state chapter. We're into our 30th year. We started as an organization called Urban Youth Golf Program Association. And it was all about because Tiger came into the game and opened up the game and kind of saying people of all kinds need to play the game. And that opened it up. But we were associated with the LPGA in the first few years, where it's also our 20th year anniversary with First Tee. When First Tee came about, we started growing. And the beauty of First Tee is the fact is that not only do we teach golf, but we teach life skills. We teach core values. We teach teamwork as kind of an overall, even that sounds strange from a golf perspective, but it's working together and it's building relationships. And it's that building relationships and those life skills that is kind of like the secret sauce to First Tee. Scott, what would you add?
Yeah, I mean, I think when First Tee was initially founded nationally years ago, their goal at the time was access. They thought they wanted to give kids a place to play. Maybe kids had learned the game through another nonprofit organization. They had nowhere to go and play. And so that while that was their start, they quickly realized it's the life skills that are so powerful, that are inherent in golf, maybe even more so. I mean, their life skills kind of come with sports in general, but they're inherent even more so, I think, in golf. And they quickly created a revolutionary curriculum that blends golf and life skills. And as you guys know, each week we teach a golf skill with a life skill. I always use judgment as an example. You've got to make decisions on a golf course. You've got to decide what club to hit. Do I want to hit it over the water, or do I want to lay up? And the process you use to make those decisions is not that different from the one you use to decide, do I want to do my homework first or play video games when I get home from school? Or my buddies want to play a prank on the neighbor. Do I want to go along with that, or do I want to sit this one out? So the life skills that kind of just connect so easily with golf, and that's really what we do. Hopefully, kids are learning the game. They're learning a lifetime sport that gets them outside, but they're also learning those life skills.
Well, Corey, he's like a graduate of that, right? He's one of the kids that we were actually playing with him today.
He is.
What an individual! What an individual!
What a good kid.
He's such a grown-up, at such a young age, and his head is so grounded. And I do believe it's part of this program that did it for him.
And John, the kind of goal is not only teaching life skills, but really for me, and what got me into First Tee after years and years in consulting, management consulting and finance and accounting work, is the fact that we're building leaders. We're building leaders for the community, for the state, for the country. I mean, because by taking the life skills, as Scott put it, and putting them into a golf situation, we're teaching them honesty, we're teaching them respect, right? We're teaching them responsibility, integrity. These are all critical values that a leader needs to have. I don't care whether you're in government, or if you're in business, or if you're in the community, leaders have had to have these core values and the commitment to excellence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, take my mic for a second. This is Corey, everybody.
You may want to get down. You may want to get down here a little bit. Will he be in the chat? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's better. Just
when I first met this guy, I saw he's a goofball from high school. Okay, at that age, yeah.
You're talking about Paul, or
well, not much of a difference.
Yeah,
anyway,
just kind of let the audience know what, like, you've been through the First Tee program now for a few years. Give them an idea of what it's been like for you.
Going through the First Tee program with football has been honestly a really good pleasure, and it's helped me become such a better golfer and a better person, and helped me navigate life and see life in a whole new perspective. It's been one of the best decisions joining that program, and it's helped me tremendously. Thank you.
And that is the best commercial for you guys, not you two. A guy like him talking.
Oh, it is.
You can't. This is money right here.
This is a guy that I met 5 years ago when I started with First Tee. And when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, because now he's graduating high school, and I asked him what he's looking to tell him what you're looking to do in the next year or so.
I'm looking to go to school, become a heavy operating.
Outstanding.
Right, and you've started an investment account for yourself,
I have.
right? And and he's out there. He's like, I know now I'm going to go out there and make money, but I'm going to do it the right way.
Exactly.
You know, and when you hear somebody his age saying, no, I can do this, you know, I'm going to, because isn't it true though that like your community college fund is going to get paid for by your right?
My employers.
By your employer?
Fabulous. Way to
So
go.
what employer would do that for somebody unless they really thought?
Yeah, make a strong impression. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wants to travel with a bulldozer, and I got to talk to you later. I made a connection for him to talk that there are companies that he can see the world or the United States doing this at really good money right out of high school. So I'm going to set you up with that after we get done here. And I'm done talking to you. I don't want you to talk. I want you to go putt.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta carry that team, Corey. Yeah.
Get warmed up.
Hit some
Get
balls.
warmed
Yeah.
up. There's
You gotta help us win.
no excuse, Corey. None.
Right.
My
So,
pet peeve has always been, and I know you guys address it, and my uncle used to say, you know, when people go buy a set of clubs, I wish they go to a school like you do for boating, you know, because they go on a golf and they don't have any idea what they're doing. They don't understand
I used to teach a golf class at in university, and that was one of the things that I always thought was interesting. Is most sports you learn in a structured environment. You played little league, you played youth soccer, and your youth soccer coach may not have played in Europe, but presumably they've been taught the rules. You're going to pick up what the offside rule is. You're going to pick up, and most people learn golf from their buddies or their grandma or their mom. And if your mom and dad or your buddies don't know the rules, you don't know the rules either. So my golf class at George Washington always had an etiquette class and an etiquette quiz and a rules class and a rules quiz, and I'd give the rules quiz to the athletic director and the basketball coaches, and nobody got good scores on my rules quiz, and it wasn't that hard. But I mean, you play with your friends, and this is what your friends do when you hit the ball out of bounds. So that's what you think the rule is.
Some of the things I've seen on a golf course, oh my gosh.
That's right.
I've seen guys with a pull cart walk across the group. They didn't know any better.
Yeah, they don't know any better, right?
They didn't know any better. You tell them, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
So how do you evaluate, let's say a 12-year-old wants to join, all right? Their parent has taught them a little bit about golf. How do you evaluate, is there an evaluation process that you go through, or do you just invite them down, and if they're a good enough kid that doesn't create turmoil, within the rest of the group, like just give people an idea, so this way maybe they know they can bring their kids in.
So we don't really evaluate, is the honest. We bring every kid that wants to play golf, every parents that want their children to play golf. We don't evaluate them. We figure that what we can do with the life skills is basically kind of teach them the life skills, and their behavior will change accordingly. They'll adopt it because the nature of the course, the nature of the sport is it demands that you have these life skills. They'll learn very quickly through peer pressure, through kind of adult mentorship. They'll learn very quickly what is the right way to behave on the course. Scott mentioned the accessibility piece of it. Our mantra, which underlies our purpose and our mission, is affordability and accessibility, right? So if parents are having a tough time financially, we still will bring them in, right?
That's right.
We will still provide that. We give scholarships, we give financial aid, we provide clubs, because as we know, the game of golf is on the expensive side.
Right.
And so the whole idea is to get them on the course. And once we get them on the course, and we start to introduce the life skills to them, that behavior will reflect what golf is.
See, that's the one thing that's missing today, because when my uncle started, they started caddying.
Yeah.
And that's where they learned the game. And they could always play on Mondays. There was always caddy's day was Monday. They could go out and play. But they watched the guys. They knew what was bad. They knew what was good. And that's where they learned the skills. Today, that's not available to these kids.
No.
They just,
Not as frequently.
Caddy opportunities in Delaware through First Tee, but it certainly is not
and
what
through
it was,
yeah,
20, 30
and
years
through
ago.
the Western Golf Association and through the Golf Association of Philadelphia, there are caddy opportunities out there. But unfortunately, I can say this, is that not a lot of clubs really focus on caddy. People themselves where they don't walk the courses, they ride the courses. So when you're taking carts, you don't need caddies necessarily,
Right.
even though you can have 4 caddies. And that's, we are developing a caddy program slowly, but it's in conjunction with Golf Association of Philadelphia and the Western Golf Association.
We did have a young lady get an Evans scholarship, full tuition scholarship, full tuition, room and board scholarship this year through the caddy program that we had. That is in its infancy, let's say, up in Wilmington.
Well, that's good to know.
We've got a few fits and starts down here, but we haven't really gotten it.
But we will.
Yet. Yeah. Again, I think a lot of it is just the culture. We need clubs to embrace it. We need members and to say, I want to walk with a caddy as opposed to riding in a cart. And I think that's a slow learning process. But I think it's
it is, because I know that, like, my home course was Bethpage up in Long Island, and the black course never had caddies on any of the 5 courses.
Okay.
And only very recently do they now allow caddies on the black, because they don't allow drive carts on the black. So they also don't allow, there's 2 of the courses they don't allow, they do. But the 2 they allow the cart, they don't have caddies. People will just ride. But the caddies that they use on the black or on the green, they're the ones that the people really enjoy the idea that, well, first we have somebody who knows the course that can help. But it's also, if they're young enough, golfers in a funny way want to mentor.
We do.
You know, if we're playing with somebody and we see them doing something, we just can't help ourselves to go, why don't you try this?
Right.
So, in the middle of the round, you're expecting them to change it. But it's just something we have inherently.
That's it. And Paul, you know it from your perspective as a coach. Our First Tee coaches, like yourself and those that volunteer for us, it is all about coaching and then hence mentoring. The ideal is for a relationship developed with a coach, and Corey's a perfect example of that. Is that the participant sees the coach as a potential mentor. All right.
Right.
And it's that mentoring, I think, that is kind of, to me, the ultimate goal is to get that relationship into a mentoring relationship. You all have done that with Corey. Scott's done it with a number. I've done it with a few. Emily Mayo, who is was the Evans Scholar recipient, we developed her with a mentoring approach. Our program director up in Newcastle County and the northern part of our region has mentored Emily for years and years and years, ever since she started in our program at 8. But we have a number of examples of the kids that have gone on and done well. It's because of the mentoring that happens, and the coaching first, but the coaching then evolving into mentorship.
I got the privilege of coaching high school basketball for 12 years, and I considered a successful season if next year the same kids came out.
Exactly.
Which means I didn't turn them off to the game. And that meant a lot to me. That's how I measure. And the same thing with you.
Yeah.
When the kids keep coming back, you're doing something right.
That's exactly right.
And I think that's so important that people understand.
Yeah, because I think that really, considering the age group that we deal with, that's the parent.
It is.
Saying, something happened to my kid. Something changed with my kid.
Yes.
I want him or her to come back into this program, because there's something about this program that's making them better people. And if the parent recognizes it, because I know the kids do, because I've seen a couple of kids that have come in. We've had a couple of ADHD kids, autistic kids come in, and they just love the idea that they try hard, and even if they miss, it's okay.
It's okay.
As long as you tried. And we emphasize that so many times, that maybe they don't get that in school. Maybe they don't get that at home. But they love coming out just for a simple because part of that is that we want them to make friends too, because these are kids they're going to go to school with.
Yeah, that's exactly
I
right.
think what people should know is this also is a social thing.
It is.
It's almost a social experiment that's been lost.
That's right.
And you guys are trying to bring it back, and you're doing a great job of it.
Yeah, well, thanks. and Scott, you know this as well. When I tell the kids when I'm sitting in front of the kids too, I said, yeah, golf is a tough sport, and you have to practice a lot to if you have aspirations of being really good. But the beauty of golf for me is that it builds friendships.
Yes.
And where else in society today that you get a chance to spend 5 hours with people that you love, that you love to be around, and that you're focusing, and it is all about building friendships. And then if you expand that to 2 or 3 or 4 other groups, now we're talking about 12 to 20 people that are a core group of friends. We need that desperately in our society today.
I totally agree.
I'm in that Indy River League, and I play with a foursome, same foursome all the time, and completely different backgrounds, completely different political views.
Yes,
But when we're on the golf course, we get along terrific.
that's exactly right.
Because we're all masochists.
Yeah.
We all love the pace.
But Paul, it's that one shot that keeps that one shot.
No matter how bad you play, you hit
shot.
one. And you think, if I can hit them all like that.
Right.
And likewise, no matter how well you play, you hit a couple of. I always remember a quote that Norman years ago played. I don't remember what the event was, but he shot 61. And they interviewed him after the round, and they said, well, how was the round? And the first thing he said, he goes, well, I hit that bunker shot a little thin on 12, and I made a par, and I needed to get up and down there. And then and another, I missed that 6-footer on 14. If I'd made those two, it would have been 59. No matter how great you played, it could have been a little better.
It's just not satisfying.
And no matter how bad you played, there's always 1 or 2 that you go, man, if I can hit them all like that.
It's so true, because the old funny adage about golf is you only got to hit one shot out of 90 or anywhere from
That's
82
right.
to 140 shots.
Right.
You only have to hit one.
That's right.
Yeah, which is kind of the same when you're, let's say you start a new job somewhere. If you can hook on to somebody in that job and you really get along well and you work well together, that's going to keep you there.
And that made a biggest difference for my career, right? So I went from accounting and finance related to management consulting. And it was the connection I made with a guy who brought me into the consulting organization, right? And it was his mentorship that really helped me develop into the consultant that I was. And we were part of building. I was a critical part of building a consulting practice that ultimately became 140 consultants worldwide. And for relatively speaking, for the consulting practice that was part of the consulting group, PricewaterhouseCoopers, it was a $25 million practice, which was a fairly large practice so without that mentorship, I would have not developed into that leader that I became. And it was like encouraging people, and I was practicing that servant leader mindset, where my job is to make my other consultants that work for me into better consultants, right?
Yeah.
I wanted them to be successful. I wanted them to experience what I experienced. That is, to me, from a leadership standpoint, that was so critical, and that's what we also passed on to our clients. That's to bring it back to First Tee. That's what I'm hoping mentorship does for our participants on and off the course.
So, what's your 5-year goal? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, this is kind of interesting because I'm involved, John, in making kind of developing the strategy now as a template with input from Scott, input from Sharma Bell, and input from Leslie McGuigan as well as the board. And so I'm in the middle of that process. This will be free range, and I'll let Scott follow me, even though I'm going to set the tone for him. So he may not be able to disagree, but I encourage different directions. So let me take a step back and say 5 years ago, what our goal was. Our really major goal was to grow from a small chapter in the First Tee, and our budget at that time was about $260,000, and to grow that to be at least $500,000 in 5 years. We're now close to $700,000. All right, so but part of that growth was we were predominantly based in Newcastle County in Delaware. Part of that growth was all about growing it in Sussex County and then Kent County. So to grow the program out, to connect with more kids, we go three different ways. We go on the course, which is the obvious, but that's the smallest number of kids that we impact on. But we also do community programs like YMCA. Scott has a program down. We have programs with Boys and Girls Club. We have programs with community centers all throughout the state, and primarily in Wilmington where we got our start. But also it is school programs too. We work with elementary schools and middle schools, and we introduce golf through the physical education program. So we go to the market that way. And so, but when we started in 2019, we had one program in Sussex County, 15 kids in Sussex, and it was done by, I want to give credit to Mike Cutright, who is out of Bear Trap Dunes, who's one of our just truly outstanding coaches, Paul, like you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. and dedicated to kid development. Well, we took that, and with the help of a board member, before Scott came on board, we started to make inroads. So we grew the program to about 60 or 70 kids at a couple courses. That gave me the emphasis or the ability to go to the board to say, look, the potential is real. We need to hire somebody that actually can be on the ground here full time. And then God shined down and brought Scott back into the First Tee, and he wanted to come in and start and grow the program. And so that part of that 5-year strategy was to grow in Southern Delaware, all right? And I'll have Scott tell you about that growth in a second. The next 5 years is really to kind of establish the sustainability of the program. And that's one of the core words that I will use as a sustainability program. Continue to grow, because I feel that Southern Delaware has the biggest growth area. We're very well established in Newcastle County. We are growing, and it's to really continue to grow in Southern Delaware. And I'll come back. And then also now, where else can we grow? And how can we impact on kids? Kent County is an area is kind of all part of that last part of the strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan, that will go into the next strategic plan.
I think it's interesting that you're going into the inner cities, Boys and Girls Club, which means you're attracting kids that really have no, but when you do that, because I've done that with a couple organizations, you find some kids that just soak it up.
I do.
They just soak it up, and the natural ability that they show for the game is incredible. And I just and it's so great. It is so great to take that to that level.
Once again, it's accessibility.
Yeah, it's accessibility. That's a great idea. Great idea.
Where we have kids of color who don't have the advantage of that others have had, this is a great opportunity for getting them involved. And so the next 5 years is going to be really focused on Southern Delaware, but it's reaching out into all communities. And Scott, I'll let you take over from that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it right. And I think that's key for us when we can transition kids out of our school program, which again, with the school program, we train the PE teacher to make golf part of the PE curriculum. So they're using golf instead of floor hockey or softball or whatever sport they might have used to teach hand-eye coordination. But now they're also teaching life skills, which is great. And we hope that then, we give a flyer to the PE teacher, that we hope the PE teacher gives the flyer out to the kids. And then the kids find out, well, here's where I can go to learn more about golf. And obviously every kid's not going to embrace golf, but those that do can say, wow, here's places I can go now and learn more about the game. The same thing with the community programs. When we go into a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA in a community center, and you hope they've introduced the game, they found it appealing, they get that flyer, they say, man, maybe I want to sign up. And like Bob said, we have scholarship opportunities. We find ways to create, to make sure that there's no hurdles, no barriers, whether it's equipment, whether it's the cost, get them into the on-course program. And then, as kids get better and take an interest, I mean, like all youth sports, there's a bit of a pyramid. You've got a lot of kids being exposed to a game, whether it's soccer or baseball or golf. And then a smaller number progress with that into maybe wanting to play in high school or wanting to go even further. And we want to support those kids who have those interests, whether it's helping them with tournament entry fees, whether it's partnering with organizations like Youth on Course, which allows you pay a small membership fee and you can pay golf courses for $5, all over the country. So yeah, exactly. Well,
so my
you might be
daughter,
a teeny bit over the age limit.
My daughter was in 5th grade and she was really shy, and I signed her up for a golf camp for a week. And I remember she'd come home some days, she'd have blisters, you know. She never complained. But then her personality changed, and she wanted to go back for a second year.
Right.
And I don't know what happened. It transformed because she was doing something she was getting good at, and it gave her some self-confidence that she never had.
Yes.
And it really made a difference in her life. It really did, in building her self-confidence that, look, I can go up there and hit a ball.
Right.
It just meant something to her.
We have, and John, we have just a number of different examples of kids. I'll give one example from a young black girl who started out similar to your daughter, very shy. Her name is Christina Carroll, and very shy. Came on the course because her father had just recently gotten divorced, and his father needed to do something with his daughter and find something to do together. And lo and behold, golf was it. So Christina meekly came to the course just to be with her father. That then turned into working with Coach Sharma Bell, and that turned into, I'm liking this. Confidence grew. She continued to develop. She liked the game a lot. She then started playing in tournaments. She started doing very well in tournaments, winning a few, right? That then grew her confidence further, where here's a shy 9-year-old girl who's coming to us. She decides that in her going to a public school, decides to run for president of her senior class.
Perfect.
Christina wins, and Christina becomes a Carroll. Along the way, First Tee has provided the opportunity to go to play Pebble Beach with Bernard Langer. Go figure on that. But to go to a special 3-day workshop with Nick Faldo and play with Nick Faldo. She got a full ride. She was the first African-American player, golfer, to have a full scholarship to the University of Delaware. She's the perfect example from that perspective, one. Second of all, then in downstate, we have 2 sisters, the Leidick sisters. Their parents are PE teachers. They can't afford a lot, right, of golf, right? But Hannah and Sarah, Hannah's the oldest and Sarah's the youngest. And Scott, you can probably take it over from here about them.
Their parents embrace the First Tee program. They teach the program at Laurel Elementary. They've the girls, kind of grew up through the program. Right. We've worked hard with the community at Bear Trap Dunes to support them and give them opportunities to get better. And they're now both playing college golf on scholarships. They won that one stretch. They won 3 out of 4 state high school championships. Right. But as important as being great golfers, they're good kids too. They come back. Right. They speak at events. They help us as a junior
coach.
They're
not kids anymore. They're people.
Yeah, I even, as an example, one of my young ladies who we work with now has been golf in Delaware is a co-ed high school sport. So sometimes being a young lady on the team with more boys is a challenge. And one of the young ladies that we work with down here was expressing some struggles. I said, well, let me see if one of the Leidick sisters would talk to you. I emailed them, and they both got back to me and said, we'd love to talk to her. We're happy to help. We have advice we can share. So, I mean, they're willing to be mentors to younger kids. So I think that's the First Tee in them. They've gotten those experiences. Right. They benefited from it, and they want to be able to share that and give it back.
And there's nothing that a young lady likes better than beating a boy. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like
All right, why don't you guys got to go. Why don't we wrap this up, because we can always come back another day and do another.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Bob, Scott,
yeah,
thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
See you all next
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye all.